Welcome to episode 17 of America in Crisis, Breaking the Cycle of Addiction. My name is David Hunt, and I'm your host. Please set your DVRs to record. This show could save your child's life. With me are Carmen and Marie Lucchese. They were the parents of Justin Scott Lucchese. Justin left this world after an overdose at the age of 26. I first met Lucchese family at the Boot Camp for a Cause and then at the last few vigils on the Common. Instead of just accepting their loss, the Luccheses decided to take action to prevent other parents from going through the nightmare and anguish of losing a child. Viewers, please note that this subject matter discussed today may be emotionally disturbing to some of our viewers. Carmen, Marie, welcome to our show.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, let's go back to when Justin was born. What was that moment like?
After having two boys, his two brothers, two older brothers, of course I wanted a girl, but then I got my third son, and it was amazing. He was a happy, healthy, beautiful kid.
And it's just the two siblings?
Yes.
And what was Justin like? What was Justin like growing up? Was he into sports? What did he like to do?
Justin, so it was funny, having two older brothers, Justin was kind of like the punching bag. If they were out back playing soccer, Justin was the goalie. If they were playing hockey, it was the same thing. But he took it all in stride. He's a tough kid. He was a tough kid. He loved all sports. He loved soccer, and he loved baseball, and he was really good at both. He was the biggest of our two boys, of the three boys, and he was the lightest one on his feet. For his size, he was a really good athlete.
So
really
how did he
good.
get into drugs in the first place?
So I think it was his either sophomore or junior year. He was playing indoor soccer, and he was a goalie, and he had his legs taken out from underneath him, and he broke his leg.
Oh.
So he went through the whole thing of being in a corrective cast and all that for whatever, and it healed. But he always seemed to have trouble with his knee. And then his senior year, he was at the high school government.
It was government day.
Government
or
day that they went away for the weekend.
Away for the weekend.
And they were playing flag football, and Justin twisted his knee, and it got worse. So we went in, we saw the orthopedic, and they said, yeah, we're going to need to go in and clean out his knee. So when they went in and cleaned his knee out, they found that he had destroyed probably close to 90% of the cartilage that was in his knee. And the cartilage is what, instead of rubbing bone on bone. So we were referred to another specialist. That specialist wanted to do a meniscus transplant.
Wow.
And unfortunately, our insurance did not cover it. We appealed it a couple of times, but the surgeon said that there's another surgery we can do, and basically what it does is it repositions the joint so that it takes the load off of where there's no cartilage. That involved his tibia being cut, the bone being repositioned, a titanium plate with 8 titanium screws, and a bone graft.
Sounds extremely painful.
It was. He was on his back for 10 weeks. He was in the hospital for a couple of days, and that's when he was first introduced to fentanyl at the hospital, and then for pain, oxycodone. And he was on that for at least 3 months.
And this was all, of course, legal. This was prescribed by doctors.
Yes. And at the time when you're going through all this, we weren't aware of the addictive properties of the drug. So Justin went through his rehabs and everything, and things seemed to be pretty good. He had a slight accident where he banged up his knee again. The pain came back, brought him back to the orthopedics. They tried some different things like gel shots into the knee and those types of things. Didn't really work too well. We're pretty sure that's when he started to self-medicate with Percocets. Percocets are very highly addictive. He was buying those on the street. What happened was he graduated from Percocet to heroin, first snorting it, and then after he had gone through his first rehab and counseling for a month, relapsed and then started shooting heroin. Went away again for detox, 30 days of rehab. This time he went to a sober living house for 6 months, and he was doing excellent. He left a little too early. Within 3 months, he had passed away.
Oh God,
from a it was called fentanyl-induced overdose, which is 100 times more powerful than heroin, and that's what killed him.
Do you feel if he was prescribed a less addictive drug in the first place, And is there a less addictive drug for the pain he was enduring in the first place?
So it's an interesting thing. I mean, you put your trust in the doctors, and I'm not blaming the doctors. They're going by what they're told, that oxycodone, OxyContin at the time is not addictive, or was not highly addictive. Not as addictive as everybody's found out now.
If I knew.
But if we knew then, which we
Yeah.
didn't,
We didn't.
we might have not even gone the surgery route. We might have tried to find something else that was less invasive and also less dependent on painkillers. He was in a lot of pain, but at the
But he was
same time too.
prescribed quite a long
Yeah.
time. I kept asking, because I went to all his appointments, and I kept asking the doctor, you know, after a couple of months, I'm like, we need to start getting him off of these. Not knowing, didn't know how powerful, you know, the drugs were.
And once he's hooked, he needed it in his system to continue.
Yeah, and not realizing now what they do to a child's brain. I mean, after what, maybe 3-4 days, he became an addict.
Not-
So like I said, as a mom, you know, you just want your kid not to be in pain.
Of course.
So, you know, you just go along with what the doctor tells you to do.
Now, speaking of pain, during the middle of all this, I understand that you developed cancer. How on earth did you cope with this?
Actually, it was 2013, the day we actually discovered Justin was using heroin.
Okay.
My doctor called, all his friends we were trying to find him. He left, and we were trying to find him. So his friends were at the house. I had gone for my mammogram, and my doctor called, and I was sitting out in the deck, and she asked me if I was sitting down, so I had a feeling something. So I went into the house, and she said, it came back, you have breast cancer.
Sorry.
So I just put it in the back of my head, and she said, we need to see you tomorrow with your husband, ASAP. And, but my more important thing was finding my son. So we did end up getting through to him. A good little thing on your GPS on your cell phone. We finally tracked him down, and he came home. And so that's when we started all getting him into rehab and all of that. And I really didn't everybody else knew but him. I didn't want to lay that on him. I just wanted him to get better. I didn't care about me at the time.
And how did this affect your other children, knowing that you've got cancer and your son's using
It
drugs?
was a lot.
What did that put them through?
It was a lot. I've got tough kids, you know.
That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. We got through it. We got through it. Somehow we got through it. We finally, when Justin was in rehab, we did finally tell him before I went in for my surgery. I had a double mastectomy.
Okay.
And I had a very rare aggressive cancer. So, you know, when we told him, I didn't want it to set him back.
Okay.
I wanted him to focus on him getting better. So, and he was worried about me, and I was worried about him, but it brought us closer as a family, closer together.
And how are you doing now with the cancer?
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, just 5 years,
Congratulations.
cancer-free. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, was Justin living with you when he passed? He was in your home?
No,
No.
he actually, my son lived in Salem, Mass.
Okay.
And we felt when he got out of rehab that summer, I had gone in 2014 in May for my reconstruction surgery.
Okay.
And he was in rehab. He was in Michael's house in Wilmington.
Okay, Brian takes place.
Yes.
Yes.
And he was doing really, really well. He got out that summer, and we just felt the best thing for him to do. My oldest son lived in Salem, like I said, and they have a little place down in their basement. So to get him out of Woburn, we wanted him to go live there, and they were right by the ocean. Justin loved to fish.
Beautiful.
So it was, he ended up going there and living there. You know, but we saw him a lot. He was working in Woburn, so he was home a lot, back and forth.
Carmen, can you tell us, how did you find out your son passed?
So it's a day that I'll never forget. I know exactly where I was. It was 9:15 on a Friday in the morning. My phone rang, and I answered it, and all I could hear was a lot of gibberish, and I was able to make out, he's gone, he's gone. And I didn't realize it was my oldest son, and that's who Justin was living with. And that morning, Joseph, our oldest, had gone out to go to work, and he noticed Justin's car was still in the driveway. And he said, that's strange because he's usually gone for work. And he went downstairs and he found his brother.
Oh, God.
And he had already passed. And then he called me, and when he finally got him to calm down, he told me, I lost it. Two of my friends at work drove me up to Joseph's house in Salem. And Joey protected me. He would not let me go downstairs and see him. The police were there, the state police were there. The coroner hadn't shown up yet, but I wanted to go down, and they would not let me go down. And then the state police came over and asked me some questions. And it's clear as a bell to this day that I was just in such shock. And then having to pull myself together, number one, because of the horrific thing my oldest had just seen. And Joseph and Justin, all my kids are close, but Joseph and Justin had kind of a special bond because they loved a lot of the same things. Not saying that he wasn't close to his other brother and his sister, because he is, and he was. But for Joseph to find him, it just like, it crippled him. And it was a long road for him to get back to where he is today. It's something he'll never forget.
It's just coming around.
It's, 5 years. It's a long time, and it's, but it's something I'll never forget. And then everything else is just like a blur.
Okay, there's one of those hard questions to ask, so
Yeah.
we can stop filming anytime if we have to. You were going through cancer treatment. Your son just died. Can you explain to our audience and viewers, especially to the kids that are watching this, that think, oh, it's not a big deal, my parents will get over it. You don't get over it.
You never do.
What was that like the first day? You got your family with you. How did the family handle this? I mean, I can't even imagine how a family would handle this. I want the viewers to know these are good people, and this is what happens when you make a decision to do something that's just not right, what you put your family through. What can you tell us about that?
It's just, it rips you apart. But then it also brings you together in a sort of a way that, I mean, we were numb for weeks afterwards. And with the holidays coming up and stuff, we always do a big decorating our house at Christmas, and on a larger street. Everybody's well aware, and we've always done it. And I looked at my husband and I said, we got to do this.
You
we
did?
have to do this, yeah.
Oh,
We did. We decorated that house, and we got ourselves a big teddy bear that's just the size of our house because my son gave the biggest teddy bear hugs. And we did it just for us, for our kids and for the neighbors and all the kids that come by and enjoy it. But it's in a way it's brought us closer
wow.
as a family.
You have more strength than I do.
Yeah, it's just it's an everyday. It's not a day goes by that we don't not think about him, not talk
Of
about him.
course.
That's why when we started Justin's Voice, a foundation in his memory, to raise awareness and to help other families. We could have had two options. I mean, I could have not talked about it. I could have, but I was angry. I was so angry. I was so angry that he died, number one, but I was angry the way he died. It's happening to so many of these young kids. Great kids, good kids, smart kids. He was a smart kid.
There's so many people out there that affect this. Let's talk
Yeah.
about Justin's Voice. Well, if we could throw up a background photo of your son, of Justin. What you founded Justin's Voice. What is the goal of Justin's Voice? Oh, that's a good picture.
To raise awareness, to help other families, to help these sober houses, help give them money, because it costs a lot of money to put your child. We would have mortgaged our house to the hilts just to get him help and get him treatment, and so that's where we come in. We try to, we send a lot of the funds we raise, help individuals, but also help a lot of houses that are a non-profit that we, grant money. A lot of yeah, if they need for a month's rent, you know, to go into these houses. Our goal long-term is to build a house and call
Someday.
it Justin's house
Yeah.
someday.
Now, obviously, we don't have the website up on our screen.
Yeah.
Justin's Voice. I noticed there's so many different agencies and causes that you're funding. Can you share with our viewers what some of these causes are and what you're funding?
So the money that we raise, we struggled in the beginning when we first started as a foundation, and we started as a foundation in April of 2015.
Okay.
And our goal then was, and still is twofold. Number one is to help those who financially can't help themselves, number one. Number two is also to get them to the correct people that can get them the help that they need. So, I mean, I've learned a lot over the last 5 years, probably more than I ever thought I would ever know.
Never wanted to know.
But
Right.
it's so hard to do it on an individual basis because funds, we only raise so many funds during the year, and how do you say yes to one and no to another? So as a foundation, we met as a board and decided that the best way to do this was to find a couple of nonprofit sober houses. One of them is Megan's House in Lowell.
Okay.
Now, Megan's House is a women's-only facility. We found out about them through a young lady that we had met.
She was a recovering addict.
She was a recovering addict, and we were actually doing some filming with someone. And we got to talk afterwards, and I asked her what the hardest thing was, and she said, being in a co-ed situation, it was very difficult being a young lady. So we ended up going up to Megan's house, and we took a tour, and right then and there we fell in love with the place and everything they did, because not only did they try to help them get clean and stay clean, they also taught them life lessons, how to manage a checkbook, how to shop, just the little things day to day that, you know, young ladies need to know how to do. So, you know, we do a sizable donation to them on a yearly
Teen
basis.
Challenge.
Teen Challenge down in Brockton, which is a faith-based sober living facility. They do fabulous work. Unfortunately, we can't really do anything with for-profit sober
Okay.
houses because of the way we're constructed. But Brian Tagg,
Yes,
who
yeah,
is
very well, yes.
So Brian is the manager at Michael's House, which is unfortunately a for-profit. But Brian most recently started, I think within the last year, a nonprofit called Solutions Over Sickness.
Yes, I'm familiar with that,
And
yes.
what part of their charter is to fund on an individual basis folks that are going through the detox and rehab, because it is so expensive. So we're in the process of working in conjunction with his nonprofit,
Okay.
so that we're able to, on an individual basis. We're not set up that way. I still unfortunately have a full-time job. That part of that is Brian's full-time. So Brian and I, we've known each other for a long time. They did wonderful things for Justin, and when we reached out to them to let them know that Justin had passed away, they were devastated. And you know, so he's been a great resource. The other goal of the foundation is to get folks that reach out to us to the right folks, to the
Okay.
people they need to talk to, so that they can get into either a detox or a rehab or a sober living environment. And we've had a lot of success over the last couple of years. I've made a lot of contacts, and I think that's what a big part of our foundation's drive is we want people to reach out to us, because a lot of times folks don't know who to call. They don't know who to talk to.
Oh, exactly.
And we as a family, having been through that and lived that nightmare, we know what they're going through. So, you know, we get the initial information from them, and then we reach out to our contacts. A lot of it's Brian, Mike Higgins, who is the substance
Yes.
abuse coordinator,
He's
and
going to
Bill
be a future
Ricker.
guest along with Vinnie Piero.
Yep.
Vinny, another great guy, and Rick Jolly here, you know, with the Mayor's Coalition. So we've made a lot of contacts over the years, and you know, we get people pointed in the right directions. And I'm happy to say that over the last 5 years, you know, I'm not going to give you how many it was, but we've been able to help numerous people, either somewhat financially, but more so getting them to the place where they need to be so they can get into recovery. And it is long term, because once you're an addict for the rest of your life.
Right, yeah.
Unfortunately, there is no magic pill, and that was us being naive the first time around. Well, you know, Justin went to detox, and He went to rehab, he's all better. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way.
I remember at his funeral, so many people come up to me. Well, yeah, a few. And like, your son was an addict? Yeah, my son was a heroin addict.
And this is why we have these shows, to try to let the public know what is available. I try to bring on some very important guests that have lived through it, showing you where to go, what you can do for treatment and help, where you can get the help, what other families have been through. Now, you just mentioned Rick Jolly, who I work with. I'm not a member of his coalition, but I do work with on the side on some of the projects that he does. I do provide the medical for the Boot Camp for a Cause. I help him with the publicity. And we're so blessed to live in the city of Woburn when you've got the Mayor's Coalition. Mayor Galvin's been standing behind a lot of these projects. Rick Jolly is a powerhouse in the city, a former police officer, and with his experience, he's the perfect person to be spearheading your committee. Can you share with our viewers, what does the Mayor's Coalition on Substance Abuse do?
So Rick does a lot of things for the city, a lot of things that go unnoticed. There's a lot of people that are unaware. Number one, Mayor Galvin was one of the first mayors in the state to appoint Rick as the lead for the coalition against substance abuse in the city of Woburn. Actually, I saw an article in the paper when it was announced, and the first thing I did was I called Rick and I says, I want to be on this. And we met that following Friday, and he said, you're in. And so, you know, their goal is to spread awareness. I know that Rick does a lot of work up the high school. We've actually, with the mayor's office, we've helped to pay to bring in speakers up the high school, at the middle school level.
And middle school.
And Rick does a lot of things behind the scenes that I'm not even aware of. I know that he brings in different folks that out of the community that are recovering addicts to talk to people, and also to get people to where they need to go in order to get the help they need. He's a great resource. I don't think that he's used enough by the folks in Woburn, because sometimes I don't think they're aware of Rick being here. But he's all over. I know he does a lot of Narcan training.
Yes.
And for those of you that have an active addict in the house, I suggest strongly that if you do not have Narcan in your house, that you
Get it.
Absolutely.
and have it there. Rick will train you, and he will make sure that you have it, because it's a lifesaver. I mean, I think that when my oldest had found his brother, I think it was too late for him. But usually when they're using with someone else, and if someone starts to go into that, then at least get them the Narcan, and at least maybe that will save their life.
For those of you that don't know, there's Rick Jolly up on the right-hand corner there.
And he's a great resource, as is Brian. I mean, like I said, the mayor has done a lot with his coalition. I think it's a great thing, and Rick's a great resource.
Rick is also part of Middlesex District Attorney Marion Ryan's opioid task force. He attends a meeting once a month with us. And I'm also part of that coalition for the task force. Again, I am not part of the mayor's coalition of substance abuse, but I'm willing to support them in any of their endeavors. I've had Rick on our show. I'm going to be bringing Vinnie Pirro in. I'm going to be bringing Mike Higgins in very shortly to speak. We've had Brian Tague on the end. He was an awesome guest.
Mm-hmm. He's amazing.
I tell him all the time, he does pretty well for a kid from Woburn. He's very passionate about what he does. There's a running joke between the both of us that the only time I seem to call him is when I need something. And but he goes, you know, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Now, I originally met you at, well, let's go back to, you were speaking at the vigil on the Common the last couple of years. Can we get a picture? I know that guy.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. This was our 5th vigil this year, and this is run by Justin's Voice in conjunction with the mayor's office.
Okay.
We started this 5 years ago in Justin's name, and we try to keep it simple.
Just a night to get everybody together to remember their loved ones.
We just want people to understand that they're not alone. That, you know,
And never forget.
and never, we don't want people to forget their loved ones. So, I mean, so you're gonna laugh. I use Facebook quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's social media. I originally joined Facebook to keep an eye on my daughter.
Okay.
Now what we do is I've made a lot of contacts, not only in the state, but across the country. People who went through the same thing that we've gone through. And we decided to do the vigil. And I think the first year we read for those who are in recovery and those that have passed, because we want people to remember
Yes,
their loved
that's
ones.
a very long list.
This This year, there was almost 300 names for those who passed, and most of those were from the state of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And the list does
Sad.
not get shorter, people. It does not get shorter. It gets longer every year.
It's
The
awful.
people like the Luccheses, that's what they're here for, Justin's voice. What can you tell us about the boot camp for a cause? I've had Freddie Gonzalez on there with Rick Jolly. I know they run this, and you're a very, very
Love
big part
Freddie.
of this.
Freddie is very passionate.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. I know that this year, or last year, he was frustrated because he wanted to get more people involved. And I told him it's something that takes time, that it will
Yeah.
build over time. It's a great cause. Freddie really works their butts off.
The first time I met Freddie was the first boot camp.
Yes.
And we found out the proceeds were going towards Justin's voice. So I said to my husband, we need to go. It was at the Boys and Girls Club, the old Boys and
Yes.
Girls Club. And after I met him, my daughter was with me. And through all of this, Taylor was very close to her brother. They weren't just brother and sister, they were best friends.
Wow.
So it took a long time to get her to, we worried sick about her. So when we met Freddie, Freddie was like Justin for her.
Yeah.
He was, she ended up going to his trainer. He
Okay.
personally trained her. And he was just really good, just a good friend. Became a really good, they're very close now.
Yeah.
And he really did a
Yeah,
lot
Freddie's
to help
awesome.
my daughter.
Yeah, he basically stepped in for Justin.
Yeah, because
And
Justin was always,
Justin was, when mom and dad were giving T a hard time, Taylor, Justin was the first one that she would talk to, and now Freddie's her Justin.
yeah.
That's where I met you guys when I did the
Yeah.
interview for you for the Woburn Times.
Yeah,
It was, I
That was
really
a
liked it.
great, yeah.
it is. It's a
Great,
great.
great.
Look, there's a lot of people in this city that do a lot of great things that go unnoticed, and we didn't form Justin's voice for notoriety or any of that. We formed Justin's voice to be in the background, to be someone that even if you just needed somebody to
Talk
talk
about
to.
it.
I know she's had people call and just wanted to talk.
And that's justinsvoice.org for the web address.
Well, our motto for Justin's Voice is family helping families.
Okay.
And that's what our goal is, and as long as I have
erase the
a breath.
stigma.
Yep,
Of drug addiction, you
Yep.
know, because it can happen to anybody, any family, so,
it is. I mean,
Yeah.
we're a normal family. I mean, Justin was National Honor Society. He was on almost a
Straight A student.
almost a full scholarship to Syracuse University. He had his whole life in front of him, and just
Smart
because
kid.
of started with a broken leg, and then surgeries led down a path of his passing. So it can happen to anyone, and that's the big thing people need to understand. Don't be afraid to ask your kids questions.
Can you share with our viewers what are some of the signs that your child might be using any type of drug at all? What are some of the signs? If I'm a father or a parent, what should I look out for?
Well, I think one of the things that when we finally recognized it was like little pieces of baggies in the barrel.
yeah, I
You
found a
know,
lot of
odd hours of
up all night.
up all night.
Yeah.
So a
Eating
different-
eating habits.
A different
sleep.
behavior, different
Oh,
sleep.
Oh
behavior.
yeah, yeah. Actually, with Justin too, it was, and Justin was always a happy-go-lucky kid. Nothing ever fazed him, but he changed because I think the drug rewires your brain, and
Very quiet.
So I'd be looking out
Yeah.
for a change of attitude,
Yes.
change in activities.
yes,
Get bored with things I loved, love things I hated.
yeah,
Bingo, yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it becomes all-consuming. It's your whole life. They think they call it chasing the dragon. That first high that they ever get from using it, they're always chasing that high. I think a lot of it has to do with depression and anxiety, which runs in my side of the family. I think that's part of it. And how come it affects one person one way, but it doesn't affect another person the other way?
Let's go back.
So
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Let's go back to the organization for a quick moment.
Sure.
Justin's Voice. How does it get funded? I understand you put on a couple of activities for
Yeah,
this.
so in late June, early July of every year, we have a soccer tournament. It's for 18-year-olds and above. We started 4 years ago, and it's been a lot of fun. It's more of a community activity. We fund it. We get a permit for the fields down the Joyce Middle School.
Okay.
And then I also have Woburn Youth Soccer. A lot of the board members, I used to be on the board, they come down and help me out, they cook. We set up the fields. And we had, this past year, I think we had 12 teams, we had 2 divisions.
Wow.
And
First year we had 18 teams.
Yeah.
And it was just my husband and I running
Yeah.
it. We didn't have a lot of volunteers, but it was successful.
yeah, it
And
was.
you
it
also
was-
run a golf tournament too, right?
Yes, we run a golf tournament the first Monday of September at Ipswich Country Club. It's our main fundraiser. It funds a lot of the speakers that we bring in, the donations to Megan's house. And we make other smaller donations. We will make exceptions. If someone comes to us and they're in dire need, we talk about it as a foundation
And we'll help them
and
out.
we will help them out.
Great. Do you have any final words for our viewers? Quick final
You
sentence
want
or
to
two.
go first?
It's a disease. And that's the one thing I hope people realize, that and you never give up on your child. Just give them a lot of love, hug your kids every day, because you just don't know. You just don't know.
Carmen?
So what I would say is this. I've learned a lot since my son became addicted to heroin. Are there things that I wish I could do over? Definitely. I would ask more questions, but I can't live in the past. But don't be afraid to confront your children,
Okay.
because one 5-second decision
Excuse me.
could affect their lives or their passing, and then your family's life, because it's not just the addiction, the addict. It affects the whole family.
The whole family.
My family will never be the same. Fortunately, that we both come from strong backgrounds. I can't say enough about the city of Woburn and the outpouring of support during the time that we lost Justin, but you need to be aware of what your kids are doing, and don't be afraid to ask the hard questions, because you're their parents, not their friends.
Okay, that's excellent advice from both of you. I would like to thank today's guests, Carmen and Marie Lucchese, for appearing today. As always, thank you for watching. Please share this program with your social media friends. Visit the website, www.justinsvoice.org, for valuable information that could save your child's life, which shows you the signs of addiction and links to many treatment facilities in the area. If you or someone you know is suffering from a substance abuse disorder, you can contact the Mass Substance Abuse Helpline. That number is 1-800-327-5050. The show can be seen on a rotating basis on Woburn Public Media stations and on demand at their website and on YouTube. For American Crisis Breaking the Cycle of Addiction, my name is David Hunt. Thank you for watching, and don't forget, as on our last episode, the Woburn Medical Reserve Corps is going to be pleased to distribute 200 of these medical disposable bags. You take it home, you put your unwanted med in, including liquids, shake it up 30 seconds, you can throw it in the trash. I have to thank Mayor Galvin, who met with Police Chief Robert Rufo. They found the best source to distribute these to the city is at the festival on the Common on November 30th. That way everybody has access to them. We have 200 that are going to be available at no charge. These would normally cost between $5 and $20, and they've been donated to us graciously by the host of our last episode. So we will see you on the festival at the Common. Also, please enjoy our new closing theme music from our last show, which is Rise Above the Noise. Enjoy, and thank you for the crew at Woburn Public Media. Without them, none of this would be possible.
For those you judge might never die. Above the noise, you hear us cry. There are people who care. Listen to the sound.